I'm gonna be staring at you from the cover of a Wheaties box.
I'm on a new level.
Hello.
Hey.
Boy.
I have a purpose.
Wow, what is this place?
The RealReal is the destination for authenticated luxury resale. They make it simple to sell what you have so you can shop what you really want.
Can you believe my old owner paid retail for me when she could have just gone to the RealReal?
Shop and sell with the RealReal, where the fashion speaks for itself.
I tried every fad diet that was out.
The cabbage soup diet,
the cayenne pepper and maple syrup diet,
kickboxing, step aerobics, half marathon, putting on trash bags to create like my own mini sauna, every pill, every powder.
I've tried it all.
And I didn't really lose any weight.
Once I started my GLP-1, my relationship with food changed.
Mochi helped me lose over 100 pounds.
I've lost 60 pounds.
It's the healthiest thing I've done for myself in a decade.
Check out joinmochi.com.
Reaching your financial goals can feel impossible. But we can help you seize them. Credit Karma gives you personalized guidance to improve your credit, savings, taxes, and more, so you can find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
In a divided America,
where do I fit?
You tell me, ask your party. Abby Phillip brings all sides to the table.
I hear what you're saying Trump believes in, but do you think it's a good idea?
Newsnight with Abby Phillip. Weeknights at 10 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Oh! I am a chicken master!
Craig Ferguson, American on Purpose, May 30th on CNN.
Best time of the year.
There's nothing better than Stanley Cup. We have the greatest trophy in all of sports.
I love hockey. Non-stop action.
Any team is capable on any given night. Must-see TV.
This sport's the greatest of all time.
I think there's anything more exciting than playoff hockey.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen at cnn.com/allthereis.
CNN This Morning with Audie Cornish. Weekdays at 6 a.m. on CNN.
Caitlin Collins is your DC source, bringing you unprecedented access to the White House, Capitol Hill, and beyond. For in-depth political coverage and analysis, watch The Source, weeknights at 9 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
What's happening in the arena? I'll bring you the latest from the players who are actually in the game, because I want answers, and so do you.
The Arena with Casey Hunt, weekdays at 4 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
International lead, an Iraqi man has been arrested and charged. He's accused of coordinating and planning at least 18 terrorist attacks in Europe that targeted Americans and Jews, all in the name of ending the Iran war. Prosecutors are alleging that Mohammed Bakr Dawood al-Saadi was trying to, quote, further the terrorist goals of Kataib Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They say in addition to the attacks in Europe, al-Saadi also coordinated 2 attacks in Canada and tried to coordinate terrorist attacks in the U.S., including against a New York synagogue. He appeared in court today but did not enter a plea. Turning to our national lead, FBI Director Kash Patel occasionally has drawn criticism for surfacing at events that for some seem like a stretch to say go with his official duties. For example, of course, when we saw him chugging beer and celebrating in the locker room with the U.S. hockey team after they won the Olympic gold medal last February in Italy. According to the FBI, Patel was in Italy for multiple official engagements. But now, thanks to Associated Press national security reporter Eric Tucker and 2 of his colleagues, another example of an interesting pursuit by the FBI director is in the news. Thanks so much for joining us. So, Eric, you discovered that Director Patel's trip to Hawaii, which is part of this Italy trip, included a VIP snorkel at the USS Arizona at the Pearl Harbor Memorial. Explain more.
So what we learned was that during an official trip that Director Patel took, first he started in Honolulu, he then moves on to Australia and New Zealand, and then on the way back, that's when this VIP snorkel took place.
Mm-hmm. And what is a VIP snorkel? I mean, that's like it's not ground, but it's a holy area. I mean, all those hundreds of sailors and Marines are entombed in those ships, right?
That's right. So our understanding is that this took place in the waters above the memorial, and the waters above where all these hundreds of sailors and Marines are entombed.
And I didn't even know people can snorkel there. I thought it was off limits to snorkeling.
Certainly to the general public, it is definitely off limits, but we did learn that apparently it was not a one-off with Director Patel, that there have been occasional dignitaries and military officials who have been afforded that opportunity.
What kind of reaction are you hearing from the FBI and I imagine from members of the military?
So the FBI took pains to note that he was invited to the Pearl Harbor base by top regional military officials. And they say, look, he wasn't there for a party. He wasn't there to celebrate. He was there as part of an official engagement to which he was invited. So that's been their response.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard from members of the military about this trip? I mean,
so they were, we certainly followed up with them aggressively following the receipt of the public records request that we got from the National Park Service, and they confirmed that in fact, they did arrange this, and they again said it was not an anomaly.
All of this does seem to fit into a bigger pattern for Director Patel in terms of he seems to be having a lot of fun on the job and doing interesting things, but that's not particularly what the job is.
That's right, Jake, and I think that's actually one of the things that really got us interested in this story is there does seem to be a pattern in which his travels blend professional responsibilities with leisure activities, and this did in fact seem to fit into that pattern.
Do we know if he was, he likes to do a lot of things with people that are friends, or his girlfriend obviously is in the news a lot. Do we know if anyone else was on this snorkeling trip with him?
We can imagine that, the team that was with him on this official trip to Australia and New Zealand might have been with him, but we don't know who else went into the water. And in fact, in the email addresses that we got back from the National Park Service, the email addresses were all redacted, so we don't know.
What did the FBI have to say about any of this?
So, obviously they were pretty defensive, and they indicated that their belief that this was not a story, in part because they believed that this was, a professional engagement that he had as part of the trip. I should note, Jake, though, as part of our due diligence, we did canvass every former FBI director since the 1990s, and although other former FBI directors have visited the Pearl Harbor base, none has snorkeled in the area, and I thought that was an important detail to include in the story.
Interesting. All right, Eric Tucker, thanks again. California's Democratic governor has just commuted the sentence. Colorado's Democratic governor has just commuted the sentence of a Republican election denier. He explains his reasoning exclusive to CNN next.
Why aren't we counted anymore?
Well, the all-new Certa Perfect Sleeper has the Q4 support system that helps relieve aches and back pain for perfect sleep night after night.
We'll never get counted again.
Nope.
Save this Memorial Day. Shop at a retailer near you.
You know what time it is. We all do.
Let's go. From the jump. Let's go. Together, do what to do.
This is the NBA playoffs. The stage is set. The mic is on. There's only one question left to answer. Who's got something to say? The 2026 NBA playoffs.
Whether it's your future health, your future income, or your future happiness, becoming an AARP member today can help. Join now for just $11 per year with a 5-year term and get a second membership free. Call or go online to join today, because the younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Fighting through forms for new car insurance rates can take forever. You can count on Credit Karma to speed things up, because Credit Karma shows you personalized rates from top providers without the extra legwork, so you can get to the coverage you need ASAP. Download Intuit Credit Karma to get started.
I can follow you like a dog to the end of the world.
To the end of the world. To the end of the world. Do you want me to stop?
Explore CNN podcasts for your daily dose of news, culture, and smart storytelling. And discover the conversations shaping our world. Follow and listen to CNN Podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
We have some breaking news for you in our politics lead. Colorado's Democratic governor, Jared Polis, just announced that he is going to reduce the sentence of Tina Peters. The 70-year-old former election clerk is now serving a 9-year sentence after she was convicted of criminal charges related to efforts to prove that Trump actually won the 2020 election that President Biden won. Governor Polis shared this news exclusively with CNN's Isaac DeVere, who joins us now. Isaac, how did the governor come to this conclusion?
Yeah, well, when I spoke to him a couple hours ago, what he said to me is that he's been paying a lot of attention to this, talking to a lot of people, but he was really struck by what the Court of Appeals in Colorado found, which is that the judge in doing the sentencing talked about her crime, but also talked about a lot of other stuff related to the 2020 election denialism. Peters was convicted of going into a room in Colorado and bringing someone in there where there were voting machines, but the judge, in Polis's mind, in the Court of Appeals' mind, made it into a bigger thing and gave her a harsher than fair sentence. And so his feeling is that his job as governor is to try to correct that. He kept saying to me that there's no problem with free speech. She can say whatever she wants, even if he doesn't agree with it, but that can't be used against her in making the sentence bigger for the crime.
Yeah, and just to be clear, she let that individual, she turned off the security cameras, let that individual look at the election machines, but this is in May 2021.
Right.
The election was long over, Biden was the president, so this wasn't about trying to overturn it. It might have been about trying to falsely prove that Trump actually won, but not part of that. Tina Peters gave a statement as part of all this. What did she have to say?
She submitted a clemency request, and in that had a statement that said this: I made a mistake 4 years ago. I misled the Secretary of State when allowing a person to gain access to county voting equipment. That was wrong. Going forward, I will make sure that my actions always follow the law. Now, what you don't see in that is I broke the law or admitting guilt. I said to the governor, usually in clemency decisions, there is some search for contrition, and he said to me that yes, that's taken into account. And he read that statement to me. He said that gets part of the way there. But he said he just kept coming back. She can't be punished for this. Democrats, Republicans should have the belief in free speech. He said to me that I said she doesn't seem repentant at all. She keeps talking about all this stuff. What happens when she gets out of prison? And he said to me, I hope that she's no longer a martyr, that she's just another person who believes in conspiracies on the street after this. I hope she doesn't believe in conspiracies, but I'm not holding my breath.
Right. Well, that's wise.
In his letter, making it formal, he says that she will be paroled June 1st. So this is very soon.
Okay. Isaac, stay with me. I want to bring in the panel. Ashley Etienne, what message do you think the governor is sending with this, Democratic Governor Polis?
I think what he's doing is reinforcing what Democratic voters already think about Democrats, and that's we're weak. You know, we go around talking about how MAGA and Trump is a threat to American democracy. We've been talking about it since I ran opposition for Pelosi back when Trump won in 16 or 20, actually 16. And every time we have the opportunity to hold these folks accountable, we actually don't. This was the same criticism of President Biden, is that he didn't move fast enough far enough to hold Trump accountable for his actions in the 2020 election. So for me, this is just sort of reinforcing not just this the stereotype of Democrats or this narrative about Democrats, but it also further legitimizes and normalizes attacks on our election.
What do you think?
I think this is a matter of the law. Polis, he was for the past couple of years now, he's been talking about this because Republicans have been pressuring him. He's gotten calls from Donald Trump apparently, but he said that the sentencing was harsh. This is kind of more of a larger discussion that we saw with the January 6th defendants. Some of them, or a number of them, many of who were actually prosecuted on trespassing charges, had those charges actually elevated, and they ended up getting longer sentences. In some of those cases, those sentences were lessened or overturned. And so to me, this just seems like another example of that. She's already spent 4 years in jail, and in this case, according to what you're saying, it isn't that she interfered with the election, and I think that probably is getting conflated with some of the other cases that happened on January 6th.
Yeah, what she did, it was in May 2021.
But I mean, look at what happened with the folks that were released by Trump who committed the crime on the Capitol, right? The January 6ers. I mean,
Polis is the last person in prison related to anything about election denialism, which is part of why this case has taken on a bigger stature in a lot of people's minds, including President Trump.
Although there is the bomber, the would-be RNC and DNC bomber, and they are trying to, his attorneys are trying to argue that he should be pardoned because he was part of that. Anyway, let me turn to Louisiana, because tomorrow Republicans are going to head to the polls and ultimately answer the question, will President Trump's endorsement of a different candidate take out the incumbent Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who has publicly defied Trump? Senator Cassidy was asked about his relationship with President Trump earlier today on CNN.
I'm not claiming the president loves me. No, but you can work with people even if you don't love each other, if you got a common goal. And my goal is to make my country and my state and everybody who lives here better off.
What do you think? What's going to happen?
Well, we don't know. He's an incumbent senator. He's very popular. He has the NRSC and other Republicans backing him. I think the big thing here, we saw what happened in Indiana, and there was a lot of discussion about the momentum behind Donald Trump with his endorsements in Indiana. Indiana was a little different because you had state-level representatives who were simply outspent. They couldn't keep up. This is a little different. So I think this in Kentucky will be the first major test of whether or not Trump has long coattails. I suspect, I'm a Cassidy guy, so I actually hope that he wins. I'm kind of working with him to try to get him in the office, but I think this will be the first real test. Not Indiana, this will be the first real test of Donald Trump's coattails.
What do you think? But it's another reminder of how the Republican Party should function according to Donald Trump, which is not about loyalty back and forth. It's about obedience to him, right? This really tracks back to things that when Cassidy voted for the second impeachment, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter that he did all the things, including he's a doctor. He had a lot of reservations about Kennedy being at the health department
and voted to confirm,
went through all of that, right? All of that stuff, and it still is never good enough for Donald Trump, and that is something that the Republican Party has to continue to grapple with, including thinking about how going into the midterms, as the president's approval ratings are pretty low in the nation overall.
Midterms and beyond.
Yes, but for those House members and senators and candidates running, how much they distance themselves from Trump with though it maybe work better for them in the general election crowd, it might kill them with the Republicans because of how Trump will respond.
No, I mean, I think I agree with Isaac. I mean, this is going to be the test of where the voters stand on Donald Trump. He is actually on the ballot in this particular race. Republicans will say, oh, well, in the midterms, Trump is not on the ballot, but actually in Louisiana, he is on the ballot. So it'll be interesting to see if voters sort of indict the president by going with Cassidy or not. If it's an indication of how people feel within the Republican Party about the direction that this president is taking the country, we'll see in this election.
When it comes to November, of course, it's going to be a different crowd than a Republican primary. It's going to be a general election crowd, and Republicans, office holders, are grappling with how to talk about the fact that gas prices are so high, in addition to some other places where there's inflation. Here's Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. He was asked last night about surging gas prices across the country.
And yeah, we want the gas prices to come down, but we don't want this country, this regime, having nuclear capability.
So that's basically the Republican argument. Yes, gas prices are high. We want them to come down, but Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon, and that really would have been destabilizing, et cetera. It doesn't seem as though voters are buying it, though. What do you think?
As a native Southerner, Mississippian, that dog ain't go hunt.
Yeah.
So they could continue to say that over and over again. And we saw something similar in the Biden administration where they were refusing to believe that, it's not what the macroeconomics are, it's how people feel. How people feel is how they vote. Even if the numbers were getting better under Joe Biden, people didn't feel it. And I think that the Republicans have to understand, it doesn't matter what's happening in Iran. It doesn't matter what you're doing with DEI and suing all of these schools. People care about their pocketbooks, and they're going to go to the polls not on Iran. They're going to go to the polls on gas prices, food prices, and all of these other things. It's the standard when we have elections.
No, you're absolutely right. And 70% of the country right now is blaming the Trump administration's policies for their economic situation. So to your point, people live these economic conditions every day. It's not like Iran or something's happening over there. This is what's actually happening in my life. And the other question I think we should be asking Jim Jordan is not whether or not the gas prices should go down, but it's what he's going to do and his party, who's in charge of both chambers, are going to do to try to cut down these prices and lower prices right now. To me, that is the real urgent question, is what is Congress going to do? They've got 2 branches, 3 branches of the government to actually do something about these issues.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. We have some breaking news out of the U.S. Supreme Court, which moments ago tossed out an emergency request from Virginia Democrats to reinstate the new congressional maps. Those maps would have allowed Democrats to pick up as many 4 additional seats in the House of Representatives here, but the Virginia Supreme Court overruled those new maps. This was a widely expected decision from the U.S. Supreme Court. My next guest was on the tragic journey that inspired the film Everest. John Krakauer is here, 30 years since he summited the mountain, to weigh in on this year's deadly climbing season and how the trek has or has not changed in the last 3 decades.
It's been a crazy 4-year journey. Doesn't get much bigger than playing in a World Cup on home soil.
1, 2, 3.
Fighting through forms for new car insurance rates can take forever. You can count on Credit Karma to speed things up, because Credit Karma shows you personalized rates from top providers without the extra legwork, so you can get to the coverage you need ASAP. Download Intuit Credit Karma to get started.
All right, so that's 1 pair of glasses. Yep. With prescription lenses, plus anti-reflective lens coating. Oh. Scratch-resistant coating.
Did I choose?
UV protection. Award-winning customer service.
That's me.
That's also me. Free returns, free exchanges, and free frame adjustments for life.
And how much more is that?
Oh, it's all included at Warby Parker.
So my glasses
are still just $95.
Oh.
Surprise! I just get excited.
Here's what you can find out front, direct and raw. Okay, now we hear the sirens, getting ahead of the biggest stories and giving you context.
How important is this moment?
Aaron Burnett Out Front, weeknights at 7 on CNN, and watch on the CNN app.
Rome is not just about the places. It's really the people. And there's always so much to learn. I've never been here before.
How cool is that, man? I want you to teach me how to do this.
I have all these crazy dreams. To actually make them happen, it's a beautiful journey.
The Story Is with Alex Michelson, weeknights on CNN.
Every weeknight, we cover it all. Will you take this all the way to the Supreme Court?
I'm not refuting a syllable of what you said.
What do you say to people who are looking to find their voice?
Laura Coates Live, weeknights at 11 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
Come to us. What's happening?
Okay, we're hearing jets overhead.
We've all seen Russian bots on social putting out spammy content.
And one day you surprise her.
That what happens up here connects all of us.
Why are you here?
Nice to see you too, brother.
You still think of him as the boy you grew up with?
And you wonder if I'm here for revenge.
He's lost his mind.
I'm the reason you have meaning in your miserable life.
It's amazing. The sights and the smells.
Women growing, selling, and using cannabis.
Do you wish you had started using cannabis earlier in life?
I do. So do my kids.
Does their shared passion for pot pose any risks? Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports. Weed 8, now streaming on CNN.
In our world lead, Mount Everest's 2026 spring climbing season is underway. Nepal's Department of Tourism issued a record-breaking 492 permits this season. A total of 15 climbers have reached the summit so far. But the mountain has already seen several fatalities this season, including the death of Pura Gyaljen Sherpa, a young guide who slipped and fell into a crevice near Camp 3. Here to discuss all of this is the author of the fantastic book Into Thin Air, John Krakauer, and several other fantastic books, I should note. But anyway, John, you published Into Thin Air 30 years ago, and the book details your harrowing experience on Mount Everest during a deadly 1996 climb. For viewers who aren't familiar with your story, briefly walk them through it so they know to pick up the book and read it.
Yeah, it was one of the early guided expeditions from the best guide out there. On summit day, a lot of us reached the top. A very violent storm moved in on the way down. 8 people died, including 4 of the 5 people I reached the summit with. And it was a horrible catastrophe that can be attributed to bad luck, but also a cascade of really bad decisions. I wrote my book Into Thin Air thinking it would dissuade people from ever wanting to be guided up Everest. And it had the opposite effect. It actually was one of the owners of a guide service that it was the best advertising he could ever get. And it was like, it drew climbers to Everest like gamblers to a slot machine. So I suffered greatly from PTSD, survivor's guilt afterwards. So I have very complicated feelings about that event to this day. It hasn't been a day in the last 30 years I have not thought about that expedition.
It's one of the greatest books ever written by one of the greatest authors alive today. You were the 621st person in history to summit Mount Everest. This season alone, more than 400 climbing permits were issued. What do you make of what's going on? Do you see this just as the commercialization of Everest?
Oh yeah, it's the commercialization of Everest, and I have to say, Everest has gotten a lot safer. When I climbed Everest in 1996. The record was for every 5 climbers who reached the summit, one died. Now, last year was the safest season on record in terms of summits for death per summit. Last year, 5 people died. About 850 reached the summit. So those seem like pretty good odds. But I would warn people that if those same odds were applied to, say, the New York City Marathon. Last year, 409 people would have died in the marathon, which would not be considered an acceptable number by anyone. Everest is still really dangerous. It's a lot safer than it was before because clients are given a lot more oxygen. They're required by law now. Each client is required to have their own Sherpa guide. Many elect to have 2. Many need more Sherpas because if they use a lot of oxygen, someone's got to carry it up there for them. So on paper, Everest is safer than ever, but there's still tremendous risk from mass casualty incidents like happened in 2014 when an avalanche, one of these ice, big chunks of ice the size of a mansion came down and an avalanche struck 26 climbers, killed 16 of them, all of whom were Nepali high altitude workers. So Everest is still dangerous. This year especially, because you mentioned those 400 and some climbers. You got to double that number because each of those climbers, those clients, has a Sherpa with him and sometimes two. So there will be 1,000 climbers going for the summit in the next 10 days, 15 days. They're sort of the first ropes were put up on the summit only a couple days ago. And the big news is that the first 2 weeks of the climbing season, you couldn't go up through the Kumbu Icefall because it was too dangerous. Hanging Serac. So the whole climbing season has been delayed by 2 weeks. It means these 1,000 climbers are all going to be heading for the summit in the same brief windows. And that's dangerous. There's likely to be a lot of crowding, which makes me really nervous. I think it probably makes everyone up there nervous. But that's the reality.
John Krakauer, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on the show. Coming up Sunday on State of the Union, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, Sunday at 9 a.m. and noon Eastern on CNN. Aaron Burnett, Out Front, starts now.
Out front next, breaking news. Trump just returning from his China trip, and sources tell CNN he's closer to launching more strikes in Iran. We are live at the White House and in Tehran. Plus, the man carrying out the Trump administration's hantavirus response, our K-file uncovering he's actually a penile implant specialist with little public health experience. He also has a history of pushing wild conspiracy theories. Andrew Kaczynski, who broke the news, is here with us. And Republicans so desperate to take down a Democratic rising star, they're picking on his breakfast order and accusing him of, wait for it, being a vegan. Let's go out front. Good evening to you. I'm Sarah Sider in for Aaron Burnett. Out front tonight, breaking news. Donald Trump moving closer to ordering strikes on Iran. Our White House correspondent Elena Treen has learned this. Sources telling her that before Trump left for Beijing to meet with President Xi Jinping, he was closer to moving ahead with plans to strike Iran than he had been in weeks. Trump arriving at the White House just a short time ago, facing pointed questions about where his war in Iran stands after 77 days. Even Trump-friendly Fox News asked this tough question.
So why are we where we are? Did you underestimate the pain tolerance that Iran has?
I didn't underestimate anything. We hit them unbelievably hard. Look, we left their bridges. We left their electricity capacity. We can knock that all out in 2 days. 2 days, everything. We left Cargill, and other than, I said, hit it, except for the valves where the oil comes out.
Over the now months of this war, the U.S. has hit Iran hard. According to the Pentagon, more than 13,000 targets were hit. But despite the onslaught, more than 60% of Iran's missile launchers are still intact, according to CSIS and according to the New York Times. Iran also restored access to 30 of the 33 missile sites it maintains along the Strait of Hormuz. And when pressed on Air Force One about Iran's resilience, the president turned to insulting reporters asking the questions.
What would the use be of repeating the bombing? You did it for 38 days.
Well, no, we did.
And you did not get the political changes in Iran.
No, I had a total military victory. But the fake news, guys like you, write incorrectly. You're a fake guy. I actually think it's sort of treasonous what you write. Who you with? BBC. Oh, fake BBC. You mean the ones that put AI in my mouth?
Elena Treen is out front live outside the White House for us tonight. Elena, you have breaking news on Trump's current thinking when it comes to the war in Iran. What are you learning?
Yes, Sarah, look, when President Trump, prior to departing Washington, D.C. for Beijing, I was talking with my sources and they told me that the president had been closer to wanting to move forward with combat operations in Iran than he had been in weeks. I remind you that throughout the ceasefire, he really had been prioritizing this idea of diplomacy, but he's been so frustrated lately with the Iranians and what he believes is this division within the Iranian leadership about how to move forward, and that really preventing them from coming to the table and agreeing to a compromise. And so what happened was, you know, from the conversations I was having with my sources here at the White House and throughout the administration, they said we were willing to see what happens in China, see, you know, if there's any sort of conversation between the President Trump, and Chinese President Xi Jinping that could change this at all. But of course, we are now seeing, we just saw moments ago, a land back here at the White House, Sarah, and it doesn't appear like there was any significant breakthrough when it comes to Iran. You heard the president arguing that, you know, she agrees that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, that they want to have the Strait of Hormuz reopened, but nothing along the lines of having the Chinese talk to the Iranians about trying to make a deal. And so now really the question is going to be whether or not the president is still in the same mindset that he was when he left. And if he is, you know, he has a big decision to make. I will say as well, from the conversations I've been having, there are differing views in the White House about how to proceed here. You know, there are some who believe that targeted strikes in Iran is the right path forward to try and find a conclusion to this war. There's also those who believe that diplomacy still deserves more time. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to see now that the president is back in D.C., when he meets with his team and what they decide to do on how to move forward here.
Elena Trine, great reporting from you tonight there from the White House. And now I want to take you live to the ground in Iran for a rare look inside the country. CNN operates in Iran with the permission of the government, but maintains full editorial control of the reports. Matthew Chance is there, and he got a first-hand look at some of the destruction on the ground.
A rare glimpse of the tightly controlled Islamic Republic. We drove a rare glimpse of the tightly controlled Islamic Republic capital, past anti-American slogans daubed along the route, to the town of Karaj, painful scar left by the latest US-led war. When finished, the B-1 bridge was meant to be a symbol of Iranian engineering prowess, the tallest in the region. But for now, it's become a battered monument to ruthless American air power.
Wow, well, you really get a sense of the incredible destructive force that was at play with these US airstrikes that smashed this concrete look and, you know, twisted all this reinforced steel. Let's take a look, see if we can get closer, a bit closer to the edge. I mean, look at the concrete pylons that have been absolutely shattered. And down here, I mean, it's a huge drop of 450 feet. This was, as I mentioned, the highest bridge in the Middle East. And there were people down below who were caught up in this and killed. And the Iranian official who was sent to show us around insisted this targeting of infrastructure and the killing of innocent civilians was a war crime that should be punished. It's an allegation US officials categorically deny. The Americans say that this was a legitimate military target, that this bridge would have been used for the transport of drones and missiles, and therefore it was fair game. How do you answer that?
That's a false narrative from President Trump. This bridge hadn't even opened. Not a single car had driven over. It was built for the use of our people and was just called a military target so it could be bombarded, demolished and destroyed.
Back in April, Trump posted video of the attack on his Truth Social platform, urging Iran to make a deal before it's too late. Now, after his state visit to China, there's still no deal. And Trump is raising the issue again, amid concerns the fragile ceasefire with Iran could soon break down.
We haven't knocked out other than one bridge that we did because they misbehaved, but we have bridges we could knock out. We could knock out their bridges and their electrical capacity. Within 2 days, we could knock out the whole thing. It's a terrifying possibility, but one that doesn't seem to be giving Iran much pause. Why is it important for this country to rebuild the bridge now, when there's the possibility that the Americans could strike it again in the near future? Why now?
We're not thinking about that. Our focus is on the reconstruction of our bridge. It was designed and built by our engineers, despite many difficult years of sanctions.
And amid growing tensions with the US, Iranian officials insist this symbol of the Islamic Republic will rise again. Well, Sarah, those remarks by President Trump that he could easily destroy Iran's bridges and its electrical capacity, obviously raising tensions with the Islamic Republic. Iranian officials have appealed to China to use their diplomatic influence to try and bring a solution to this. But I can tell you the sense tonight in Tehran, the Iranian capital, is that fragile ceasefire with the United States could quickly fall apart. Back to you.
Ever more fragile. Matthew Chance, thank you so much for your live reporting there from Tehran. Out front now, former Commerce Secretary and former U.S. Ambassador to China, Gary Locke, and Evelyn Farkas, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. We'll start with you, Secretary Locke. Thank you for being here this evening. We heard Eleni Treen's new reporting at the top of the show that Trump may be moving closer to new strikes on Iran. What would this accomplish in your mind?
Well, certainly it would create more devastation, casualties within Iran, but also could lead to a wider conflict throughout the entire Gulf region, and certainly would send oil prices skyrocketing and really hurt the economies and the jobs of people around the world, not just here in America where we're facing high gas prices, but really affect the industries and the jobs of people throughout the world.
Evelyn, would new strikes actually go towards ending the war or trying to end it quicker, or would it potentially prolong this?
Sarah, I don't think new strikes would bring an end to the war. And it's interesting to me that nothing came out of China, because that tells me the Chinese actually aren't even trying to dissuade us from using force, or at least I didn't hear anything along those lines. That tells me that the Chinese think it might be a bad move for the United States, to use military force because it won't work. And the Chinese will be happy to watch us make a bad move. So what am I saying here? The Iranians will make a deal if we give them something they want, and that's about diplomacy.
Secretary Locke, you heard Trump just a few minutes ago tell Fox News, "I did not underestimate anything when it comes to Iran." Do you think he did underestimate Iran's ability to take this?
I think he very much did underestimate, because in the first few days of the war, in late February, he said it was over and that it would just be a matter of days before he would accomplish all of his goals. Yes, he took out the top leadership of Iran, and they had over 13,000 military strikes. And when you add the number of strikes by Israel, it's over 30,000 military strikes. And yet here we are. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. There's a blockade of Iran by the United States, and nothing has really changed.
Evelyn, you just alluded to this. That it appears that Trump wasn't able to convince China to do anything to help stop this war with Iran. And we know U.S. allies in Europe haven't been willing to help. So this war has sort of created even more distance between Trump and some of America's closest allies. In that context, let's play something the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said today.
Ich bin ein großer Bewunderer Amerikas.
I'm a great admirer of America, but my admiration is not growing at the moment.
Ich würde meinen Kindern
I wouldn't recommend that my children go to the U.S. today, get their education there, and work there.
What do you think this says about America's standing in the world at this point, that a U.S. ally would say something like that?
It's so low that inside these countries, for the chancellor, for the leader of a major German political party, the one that's still in power right now, that's struggling to stay in power, it's politically smart to say bad things about America and to dissuade his people from thinking positively about their number one ally historically, so, or in recent history. And so Sarah tells me that he's not afraid to insult us or President Trump because he believes that it's in his political interest domestically. And right now, I just want to tie it back to Iran. We need those European allies. At the end of the day, this is only going to be solved through diplomacy, and we need the Europeans for that because they have the other economic leverage required to give Iran something, which is relief from sanctions.
Secretary Locke, what's your take on all of this?
Well, certainly, I think world leaders recognize that President Trump is very unpopular in the United States, that people are very concerned about the impact of the war in terms of gas prices and energy prices. And people are wondering whether or not they can really trust President Trump. And so attacking him, making sarcastic comments about the United States is actually in their political best interest. But quite frankly, we need to resolve this crisis, this war. We need to settle it. We need to make sure that Iran does not enrich its uranium and develop a nuclear weapon, but we can't do it alone.
Gary Locke, Evelyn Farkas, I do appreciate your time this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Out front, next.
I think I know your order.
Yeah, breakfast tacos.
Potato, egg, and cheese.
That's right. I come here a lot, so
I can tell. That order from Democrats' rising star in Texas is now the focus of attacks by Republicans, even Trump himself. Desperate times calling for desperate measures. Also, a member of Congress sharing with Out Front the disturbing anti-Semitic voicemails that he's getting, threatening voicemails. He says they're more frequent and disturbing than ever. And he's an official leading the hantavirus response in the U.S., yet our K-File uncovering he has little experience when it comes to public health. Instead, he's a specialist in penile implants and hosted a podcast called Erection Connection. K-File is next with this exclusive report.
Stand by your brake master, stand by for the black in 3, 2, 1. Effect. Roll your brake, please.
Lending Club easily saved me tens of thousands of dollars in credit card interest. My name's Lauren.
I am Michael.
When we founded Andytown, we didn't have a lot going for us.
We scratched together everything we had.
We made the desperate decision to put tens of thousands of dollars on our credit card.
I think we're paying 26% at that time. And Lending Club was like, nope, we can help you out. We consolidated our credit card debt down to about 7%.
It was just like this huge weight off of our shoulders.
How often do you go in this thing?
Daily.
There's so much bad information. The really good information gets drowned.
Nosferatu is emerging.
You look like a child.
Kara Swisher wants to live forever. Saturday on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
Hey. Hi. Could you please submit your expenses today? You have those expense reports? Hi. Can you submit those receipts?
Never chase a receipt again. Ram. Love finance.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and this is The RealReal. It's the destination for authenticated luxury resale. You can get a Gucci bag like me.
Or the Rose sweater like me.
Or vintage Jimmy Choo heels like me.
Even a Cartier watch like me.
For up to 90% off retail. I know, imagine getting me for that price. And they drop over 10,000 new arrivals every day from the best luxury brands. So there's always something new to browse. So check out The RealReal, where the fashion speaks for itself, and get $25 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Ever since I started drinking this stuff, I haven't been as bloated. That'll come in handy with this little spandex number next week. I remember the first time I had to squeeze into that sucker. Oof.
Tonight on 360.
The stories that matter.
This whole area is just engulfed in flames.
From a trusted voice, a fearless eyewitness.
We just got a red alert to go down to the bomb shelter.
Anderson Cooper 360, weeknights at 8 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
There's something about this place. It's big, it's messy, it's magical and majestic.
It's really our passion to share what we do with people like you.
Now it's our time, and we're gonna make the best out of it.
Vive la France!
Eva Longoria, Searching for France, now streaming on the CNN app.
When you're away from the spotlight, you have time to think about what really matters. The spotlight! This won't be just a stand-up show. This is bigger than just me. You are going to be remembered for comedy.
You are the #1 living legend.
Here we go!
I'm Daniel Dae Kim. I'm going to South Korea to figure out how this small nation conquered the world with its culture. I saw your move. That's gonna get people up out of their seat. Tuck it out. That's savage.
They're making Asians look really cool.
Join me and meet the artists and creators behind the phenomenon.
Hey, everything. Now streaming on the CNN app.
The idea that the Late Show franchise is ending is a really big deal.
We are heading down a dangerous path.
I don't think that's the last we've heard of Stephen.
The Last Laugh, Stephen Colbert, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
Tonight we have a CNN exclusive K-File uncovering new details about one of the Trump administration's top public health officials who led the public federal response this week on hantavirus. Dr. Brian Christine stood before reporters promising a response grounded in science and grounded in transparency. But before joining the administration, Christine was an Alabama urologist with little experience in federal public health. He specialized in penile implants and once hosted a YouTube show called The Erection Connection on his procedures. K-File also found a history of far-right commentary and conspiracy-tinged remarks, including comparing the Biden administration to Nazi Germany, questioning the 2020 election, and suggesting the COVID vaccine did little to stop the pandemic. CNN's Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is out front with us now. Andrew, what'd you learn?
Well, that's right. Christine has one of the most important public health jobs in the country as the Assistant Secretary of Public Health. His office deals with infectious disease policy, women's health, family planning, and the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps, which makes him a 4-star admiral in charge of the more than 5,000 uniformed public health officials who deploy during emergencies. But before taking this role, we found his experience was not in public health. He was a urologist in private practice in Alabama, where he specialized in penile implants and was a conservative anti-abortion activist and former Republican candidate for state Senate. He also hosted a YouTube show, as you mentioned, aimed at fellow urologists called The Erection Connection. And we also found a podcast that he started when running for office called Common Sense. It focused on everything from abortion, COVID restrictions, transgender rights, the 2020 election, and what he called wokeism in medicine and government. For instance, in one episode we found he argued the pandemic had been used to control Americans and influence the 2020 election. He urged listeners to watch 2,000 Mules. That was the debunked election conspiracy film, whose distributor later apologized and pulled it from circulation. Take a listen to him here.
This is probably the most important thing that's happened during the pandemic, is that there is no question that the pandemic was used to influence the outcome of the 2020 elections. Just watch 2,000 Mules. We know that there have been people who have died from that, but we also know that most people who get infected aren't going to die. Most people who get infected aren't going to get sick. But the government and the left have used the pandemic to control people.
Now, in another episode, Christine suggested that this vaccine did little to stop the global pandemic in arguing against COVID-19 mandates. Listen to him here.
We were being forced and pushed, attempted forced. I mean, some people stood their ground, but being forced to take a vaccination that didn't prevent a disease, didn't prevent transmission of a disease, a vaccine that was really not vetted as other vaccines have been, simply because we haven't had it as long.
Now, Andrew, you also uncovered comments where Christie talked about abortion. He compared the Biden administration to Nazi Germany. What did he say exactly? Well,
that's right, Sarah. In multiple podcast episodes and social media posts, Christine took hardline positions on abortions, and he also invoked these comparisons between the Biden administration and Nazi Germany. On abortion, he defended Alabama's near total ban. He explicitly argued there should be no exceptions for rape or incest. Take a listen to him here.
Now that causes the pro-abortion side of the argument to get really upset that we don't exclude rape and incest. But just because the pregnancy occurs through an act of violence, that doesn't mean the unborn child doesn't have the right to life. And we recognize and we believe that another act of violence, and an abortion is an act of violence.
Now, in another podcast episode, Christine compared what conservatives were experiencing in the United States under Joe Biden's presidency to conditions in Nazi Germany. Listen to him here.
There are things that are similar that were going on in Germany that are going on in the United States right now. There aren't concentration camps in the United States, but there's no question that conservatives feel threatened. There's no question that conservatives like myself and others feel like the government is being weaponized against us.
All right, Andrew, I'm sure you reached out to HHS. What did they say to you?
So Andrew Nixon, that is the Assistant Secretary for Media Relations at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, told CNN this. He said, Assistant Secretary for Health Admiral Christine remains focused on executing President Trump and Secretary Kennedy's agenda to make America healthy again and deliver on President Trump's executive order to protect our children against chemical and surgical mutilation.
Andrew Kaczynski, thank you for that really interesting story. I know a lot of people are reading it. Appreciate it. Out front next, Trump defending his statement that he doesn't think about Americans' financial situations when dealing with Iran. He's calling his comments a perfect statement. Plus, Taco Gate? Republicans and Trump appear to be so concerned about the Senate race in Texas, they're turning to Democrat James Talrico's taco order, accusing him of being oh my goodness, a vegan, when he's not. Jamal Simmons and Charlie Dent are here to discuss next.
And here they come. You can repo cameras 2 and 3. Stand by brake master in 3, 2, 1. Effect. Before you brake, please, master.
Roaming is not just about the places. It's really the people. And there's always so much to learn. I've never been here before.
How cool is that, man? I want you to teach me how to do this.
I have all these crazy dreams. To actually make them happen, it's a beautiful journey.
30 seconds.
Wake up.
Breaking overnight.
Catch up.
New details and more questions.
Start your mornings here.
This is a pivotal week.
CNN News Central. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on CNN and watch at 8 on the CNN app.
We start with breaking news on several fronts.
Want to know what I'm thinking about?
Let us break it down.
Whoa, let me back up for a minute.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Look at this.
Oh my God, look at that.
That's good, man.
Whoa, let me back up for a minute.
That is so good.
We do this for real.
My brother, he's violent, unafraid, oddly charming, unpredictable.
You're going to kill me, Ruben?
No, there's an idea.
CNN nominated for 32 News and Documentary Emmy Awards, celebrating outstanding journalism, breaking news, and in-depth investigations. This is CNN.
Over the course of the last 40 years, I've never had an opportunity to speak about this in public before.
Disaster. The Chernobyl meltdown. Sunday on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
What our ancestors accomplished was nothing short of miraculous. But we don't talk about the hidden stories.
These histories together, they all made this country.
This Land premieres June 7th on CNN and next day on the CNN app.
When you're away from the spotlight, you have time to think about what really matters. The spotlight! This won't be just a stand-up show. This is bigger than just me.
You are going to be remembered for comedy.
You are the #1 living legend.
Here we go!
Everything all right, my love? Catherine?
like a dog to the end of the world.
Watch The Lead, weekdays at 5 on CNN and watch on the CNN app.
We're going to Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day.
Look at the beach you came on right there.
My life is a miracle.
Why We Dream premieres Memorial Day on CNN or watch on the CNN app.
Excuse me, do I know you? Marty Mouse, a royal suite. I'm gonna be staring at you from the cover of a Wheaties box.
I'm on a new level.
Hello. Hey.
Boy,
I have a purpose.
Tonight, President Trump has found a new target to trash: Texas Democratic Senate candidate James Tallarico. He's a rising star in his party, and the president is now seizing on his taco order. Yes, you heard that right. It all stems from this moment while Tallarico was campaigning with Barack Obama and ordered tacos in Texas.
I think I know your order.
We have breakfast tacos.
Potato, egg, and cheese.
That's right. I come here a lot, so she knows.
That exchange prompting President Trump to say this on Air Force One.
The Democrats have a weird candidate. He was a vegan, now all of a sudden he's not. Texas doesn't like vegans. I think he's a pathetic candidate, especially for Texas.
I think he means vegan there. He is not. And the right is wasting no time seizing on this, though. Tom Foreman is out front.
I hear the tacos here are okay.
It was a photo op set for success. Former President Barack Obama with gubernatorial candidate Gina Hinojosa and U.S. Senate candidate James Tallarico at a popular Austin eatery. Then Tallarico ordered.
We have breakfast tacos. That's right. Yes. That's right, too. I come here a lot.
You heard it. Potato, egg, cheese, and no meat. In this state stacked with ranchers, the Republican governor pounced. Homie is not beating the vegetarian allegations, echoing past and persistent GOP claims that the popular young Democrat is vegan, including by Senator Ted